Finally, after years of trial and error, after thousands of altcoins went to zero, crypto has found its product market fit. Hyperliquid has real utility. It extends the trading hours for traditional finance. If you want to trade Apple stock, if you want to trade oil, if you want to trade gold, and the official trading hours have already closed, and even OTC, there is not much liquidity, Hyperliquid is there for the rescue. Institutions of traditional finance continue to use the platform, and that makes it grow way beyond traditional crypto projects. And that's why the Hype token Longterm is outperforming the rest of the market. This here is the Hype price measured in US dollars. But measured versus the rest of the altcoin market, the appreciation is much more constant. Hype has outperformed your average altcoin by more than 900% over the course of 1.5 years. Hi, my name is Gerhard. I've been in the crypto space for the last 8 years. I hit my first million 3 years ago. And in this video, I want to share the data points that I personally look at in order to outperform the market. Historically, over the last 5 years, that's when I started measuring, I outperformed buying and holding Bitcoin by 2% per month. The data is in the linked website down below. If you become a member of this channel, you can also automatically copy trade my trades. Now here is what I did month over month. This is the outperformance or underperformance each month versus buying and holding Bitcoin. And here is the portfolio over the last 5 years measured in BTC. The transactions are 100% transparent and verifiable. I will share more about this at the end of the video. Let's first get back to Hyperliquid and why it suddenly gets this surge of growth. Now we've got a direct inflow into the Hype token through an ETF. That of course always helps. But really the underlying fundamental trend here is not just buying from traditional finance, it's actually that prop trading houses are now adopting Hyperliquid to generate profit. Now Hyperliquid is a perpetual futures exchange. People can bet on various prices. Now it started off with crypto prices, right? We bet with leverage on crypto prices and that happens decentralized, so without any KYC. This is where Hyperliquid started. Then it wanted to expand the offering and it launched an entire layer 1 blockchain where then also native tokens could be traded. Unfortunately, that plan did not see any further growth post September of last year. But the actual Perp exchange itself, it continued to grow, even post the October flash crash. More on that in a second. But we do see more and more TVL growth. Now, why are people using the perpetual futures? It's because now with Hyperliquid, we can't just bet on crypto, but we can also bet on oil, we can bet on gold and silver, we can bet on larger stocks. And that opens up a whole new market. Have a look at the open interest, so the amounts of bets on the Hyperliquid platform over time. We had this massive crash, and that was on October 10th. We went from 15 billion down to 8 billion. And that shook the confidence of the market. People continued to unwind their positions. But since the beginning of February of this year, there's a turnaround. Now what happened here on October 10th? This is what happened. This is the others market cap, the market cap of all the altcoins that are not in the top 10. Within 1 hour, they crashed down by 44% to then quickly afterwards recover again. So if you were betting on an altcoin to go up and you had just a bit of leverage, right, say 2.5x leverage, you got completely wiped out. Now, why did we get this wick? Some people call it the scam wick. It was because of a mispricing in Binance. So Binance had a problem. Its data feed got too concentrated. It didn't have enough diversification. And so that led to cascaded liquidations events that went through the entire crypto space, including also Hyperliquid. If you were betting on rising prices and you had your liquidation level over here, or let's say you simply had a stop loss over here, you lost it all just to see that without that limitation, you would just keep your capital. So a very short mispricing event had a massive impact on the derivatives market and on the adoption of Hyperliquid. But it looks like that shock has been absorbed. And now we are back in growth mode again. Now here's the kicker. Hyperliquid does not just provide crypto trading. It provides traditional finance trading as well. So if you wanted to trade, say, US oil, or you wanted to trade European oil, you can do that on Hyperliquid. And so why is this useful? It's useful because it enables new trading strategies, and it also helps with adoption from traditional finance. The market makers that are now in traditional finance, they have a new capital pool that they can use. I've talked about this potential trade here, for example. This is the Brent price, so European oil divided by American oil, WTI. This is a long-term chart. It starts in 2021, and the dotted line, that's the average price. So on average, European oil is 5% more expensive than US oil. But we oscillate around this. And so with Hyperliquid, we can just play that oscillation. We can go long Brent and short WTI over here, and we can do the opposite over here, right? We can go short Brent and long WTI. We can trade on this mean reversion. That in the end, oil is a global market, and those are replaceable goods. So within just a few days, there's an almost safe win of 4%. Or over here, when the volatility increased during the Iran crisis, another 5%, and then a few days later, another 4%, and then a few days later, another 4% again. So we're just trading the deviation from the long-term equilibrium. This is one of the many trading strategies that we can use when we can bet on traditional finance assets in both directions, long and short. When I talked about my outperformance versus buying and holding at the beginning of the video, this is actually no coincidence either. I'm just using the market structure to my advantage. I started publishing my trades in real time 2 years ago. And this is the statistic. So my win rate is slightly below 50%, but still the average gain per trade is 5.3%. So I make more for a winning trade than for a losing trade. And all of those trades are shown over here. Once you log in and you're part of the membership here, you can also check the individual messages, right? So for example, we bet on a falling lunar price over here. We can just click on those 2 dates, and then we get the actual announcements in the chat as well. On the 12th of May, this is when we got our sell signal. And then afterwards, when we get the buy signal, so when we close the short, that was on the 26th of May. On average, I held a position 27 days. And so where does this kind of performance come from? It comes from a similar concept to this idea with trading the different oils. We are just looking for market distortions. We are looking at how does an altcoin long-term perform versus the rest of the market, and then we go long one altcoin, we go short the other altcoin, and we trade the delta. We trade whenever we deviate from the equilibrium. Now, what does this all have to do with the HYPE token price development? One central point here is that the demand for HYPE will go up because the usage of the platform is going up. Everybody that uses the platform extensively is incentivized to buy the HYPE token and stake it because it reduces trading fees. I did that as well. I'm staking HYPE tokens and thus get a 10% fee discount. And if you then trade a certain volume, you get additional discounts on the fees. In other words, market makers and institutional investors and participants with frequent automated trading, they are all encouraged to use Hyperliquid, and they are encouraged to stake more and more HYPE tokens. The more active you are on the platform, the more HYPE tokens you want to hold. And so activity growth on the platform directly translates into more demand for the HYPE token. Now, Hyperliquid already has a market cap of 16 billion. So it's almost 10 times as large as the number 2, which is Aster Protocol, which is supported by Binance, by the way. If you look at all of decentralized finance, still Hyperliquid is at number 1. It's much larger than Uniswap. It's much larger than Aave. Perpetual futures trading of traditional finance assets is finally the use case for crypto. It's where crypto provides real value to the rest of the world. Assets finally become available 24/7 in a liquid way without having too much spread and too much slippage and financing costs. HYPE is now the 9th largest cryptocurrency. Is there a case to be made that it could flip Tron? I believe yes. Is there a case to be made that it could flip Solana? I believe that's possible as well. Solana is basically a Memecoin casino. So a 3x from here, or close to $200 per HYPE token, wouldn't be that surprising. Now, the issue is always that this is an inflating cryptocurrency, but there's positive news here as well. The team has a very long-term vision. The team is not unlocking their token at the initially planned pace. Have a look at this schedule deviation. Only 5% of the planned unlocks actually did get moved into circulation. And so this then begs the question, is there maybe now too much hype around the hype token? Is there a lot of leverage in the token? Let's have a look at the Perpetual futures positions in the token. Let's start off with the funding rates. So that's how much people have to pay in order to get positive exposure to the hype token. That tends to be positive most of the time. In other words, people tend to bet on rising prices. They are bullish. They are believing in this rally of hype. The vast majority of traders does not think that this is just a pump and dump. Most people want to hold hype. The open interest is at an all-time high as well. And usually that would be a red flag because open interest tends to be short-term trading, and that could very quickly go down again and potentially push down the spot price with it, right? The amount of bets on a price matter for its inherent leverage. And of course, on the 10th of October, we saw this crashing with the subsequent decline in confidence in the market. But now we are recovering again. The largest trading vault on Hyperliquid, called Hypergrowth, has only one single long position, and that is the hype token. And it has many other short positions, and that's all inflating altcoins that are not outgrowing their supply expansion with their demand. The projects aren't growing fast enough. And so that vault, it's closed right now. It has generated 6 million worth of profit. Now I also opened an automatic copy trading vault on Hyperliquid at the beginning of the year. Last year, the vault made 44% annualized. This year, we are at roughly 30% annualized year to date. But I'm still working on achieving the 44% again. So here's the copy trading vault of this channel. Again, the way we make money here is by trading the divergence from the equilibrium. If an altcoin gets pump and dumped, we tend to short it after the pump and then close the position as the price normalizes again. So feel free to check it out. Feel free to also manually copy trade. But for now, I think that Hyperliquid is one of the very few altcoins that might have a good shot at outperforming Bitcoin over the very long term, because it does provide real utility. It does find real adoption because it opens up trading for assets 24/7, where traditional finance is simply closing its doors. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish here regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time here on YouTube or see you on Premium. Thanks for watching. Cheers.